And then hello, Marianne, and hello, Lee. But nice everybody's here. And maybe you can already think of two questions I have for you. I will take that up at the end. And that is, do you trust your gut? And also, on a level of 1 to 10, do you act on your gut? Do you actually follow your gut? So you can either you can think of it, and if you are ready for it, you can also just add it on the hello Paul, hello Belinda. You can just add it on the chat that everybody can see. You don't have to do it, but if you would say that on a scale of 1 to 10, so before I start the webinar, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust your gut? And then you can think of it, do I actually follow my gut? And if that's no, then the trust is not high, if you like. Just
Mhm.
have it with you today in the webinar, and then you can put it in the chat as well. And after I'm done talking, I will invite you to reflect on that. Today, we're going to talk about exactly that. Do you trust your gut? And if so, do you follow your gut? And the reason why that is important is that purpose in life, or what you feel is your calling, or what you feel is who you really want to be. Let's say that you're dead and people come on your funeral and look back on your life. What would you want them to know from how you have lived? What would be the main thing that you would want them to know? Aha, that's who Maurice was. That was what he was all about. And how can you translate that inner you to purpose in life? Something that you can go towards. Vision, purpose, and it comes only from your gut. And in particular, in these times of uncertainty, so high levels, extreme levels of uncertainty, what can you trust in the end? You want to trust your partner and you want to trust your friends and stuff. But still, if you have to make decisions, it's about your life. At some point, you will have to ask yourself, your gut, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And about next steps in life, about purpose, and also how that can give emotional clarity, which is what it is in the end, a safe space of emotional clarity on my next steps in life. And for those of you who don't know who I am, let me say a few words about myself. I am some new people as well. Welcome, Verena and Martin. Yes, I am running the Intuitive Leader. It has three legs, if you like. One is the program, Decoding Intuition, which is educational by nature. One is a coaching program, which is connected to decoding intuition on purpose and on decision making. And the third leg is Intuitive Business Network, IBN. And the purpose behind all of this is to guide ourselves on the inner journey right here, in here, which affects how we show up as leaders and how we show up in our business and the decisions we make and what we are heading for in life. And that's the whole background. Do if you are, I hope you're still in the right room. Are you in the right room?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the background behind all of this is 25 years of own work, inner work, if you like. Everything from going through traumas and well, soul searching and all sorts of psychological profiling with myself and with my customers. But it's also based on research and science. I'm going to show you at least one piece of that today. What does science have to tell about intuition and high performance? And also some examples of people that are already doing this. And then I will also share more examples of myself and some of my older clients. After that, I will open up for you to reflect on it. One part of the research that I do is related to my own podcast. And this is not commercial for the podcast. I'm going to show you two slides only. But if you see this young man somewhere, the Intuitive Leader podcast, that's me. And some of my guests are either scientists, global scientists, and one of them we're going to talk about today. This is Professor Victor Dörfler. He's in Scotland. And let me also talk about Catherine Bell. She is the next one out, and she is really talking about purpose. She started her business on her credit card, on a whim, and succeeded. I'm also going to talk about Rick Schneider. He's located in the US, and Catherine is located in Canada. And for our South African audience, this is Jeremy Swartz, who is from South Africa. Um, Let me talk about Victor first. So, Professor Victor, he's a very, very interesting man. Besides that, he is actually a professor in AI. He has also been studying intuition for a very long time. And one of his projects is called Master Apprentice Project, which has different layers, but the most famous one, and for that he became also a TEDx talker, is that he has been interviewing 19 Nobel Prize winners to find out how do they come to their breakthroughs. And the spoiler alert is, I hope you're still going to watch or listen to the podcast, but the spoiler alert is intuition. They made intuitive leaps, and then made their way back with rational sequential thought analysis. It's actually the same way as Einstein worked. And not only was he was absolutely he was surprised by how consistent his findings were, but he also noticed that knowing stuff, how do you know it? It's not language. I mean, the Nobel Prize winners, they didn't use the language like I do, like intuition or something, but they use language like, it felt like, it could be like that. I'm not really sure, but this makes more sense. It was like emotional hunches, how they came to their breakthroughs. And he shared with me one story, it's on the podcast, how one Nobel Prize winner, I forgot his name now, he had come up with a great theory, but he said it doesn't feel right. There's something missing. And then he added a little bit to it, almost for fun, like an artist. He said it doesn't matter, but this feels a lot better. And then years later, decades later, it was found out by his followers, the people coming after him and trying to make sense of what he has made, that they discovered that that little last part, that what felt right, was actually the thing necessary for it all to work. And this is the kind of language that intuitive language is. It's not clear, it's a bubble, it's hunch, it's vague, it's not done yet, but it is sort of intelligence coming through that what we need to process. And what he has discovered, Victor Dörfler, is something I've seen with both my own clients and with myself, but also with other people here on the podcast, among other Rick Schneider and Jeremy Swartz, but also Catherine. They speak very clearly about the correlation between seeing something before others see, the ability to read the room, the conversation is not hard, but also tapping into something like, why do we even start this company? The whole idea of making certain decisions when it is extremely uncertain. All of these three have taken gigantic risks on moments where their logical mind said, this doesn't make sense. But I did it anyway, because they felt that they had to. Yeah, so I would like to add to that the examples of, should I add a little bit more here? Yeah, Mac Van Wieling in here. He is a Canadian banker. I call him the Canadian Warren Buffett for better and worse. An extremely intelligent man, a bit elderly. He is now almost retired. But he shared with me how he actually conducts his work. Going back to the main session here. So he shares with me in a podcast that when he has to make a decision and he feels uncomfortable with it, that is exactly the signal he's waiting for. If it's uncomfortable, that's the moment when he stops, pauses, and asks himself, like, why do I feel uncomfortable? What makes what makes me uncomfortable? It's not, I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not going to blindly either listen to it or be afraid for it. I'm going to stop and ask myself, why is this uncomfortable? And then he did that in meetings with everybody else. He invited people, senior people in suits in the financial world, to tell him why he felt uncomfortable. So he did two things at the same time. He actually opened up the room to come up with intuitive language because nobody had the answer, and he created psychological safety for others to do that. And that is an extremely important component. If we are to find our way in life, it's it's hard based. I mean, what we really want to do in life, it's most likely uncomfortable because the easiest way, the absolute easiest way, is to have a job. It's safe. You may not like it, but there is money, and that's it. That's your life. And then when you're 80, you're retired, and then you hope your kids have a happy life. But if you want to follow your heart, if you want to follow your calling, first you need to know what it is, and then daring to follow it. That's uncomfortable. It's guaranteed not with everybody else. It's guaranteed one step at the side, stepping outside the comfort zone. And that is what they all have done. And Bill Gates did that. Jeff Bezos did that. Who else I have on my list here? Um, I can actually start with Bill Gates as well. He didn't run a purposeful business, but he followed his heart. And when he was asked for it, like, how do you take decisions? And then he said, with my intuition, and people reacted to that. He's, after all, a data engineer. And then he said, like, I expect or I trust my intuition to be more often right than wrong. And that I may not really like Bill Gates, by the way, but but it sums it up pretty well. We are not without errors. Following our heart is definitely not going to be without mistakes, but we are probably more often right than wrong, and we are heading in the right direction. There is um, clear science and research done on private people this time when they make decisions in life based on their intuition and how happy and satisfied they are with their life decisions afterwards compared to people that don't use their intuition and how they feel afterwards on the decisions they have made. There's a higher level of happiness with people following their gut. That's not to say that life is better in general for them or that they have no problems or make no mistakes, but they feel a bigger connection with something that is satisfying, a certain amount of gratefulness. And that is not completely uncomfortable to make the decisions, oddly enough. Um, yeah, one last thing there on Warren Buffett that I should mention as well. It's interesting that when he was asked how he makes decisions, well, he does a due diligence, and then at some point he has to make a decision. And when everything is completely green in life, but the stomach says no, that's literally his words, then walk away. And that is the easiest part of us using our intuition. Red flares, red flags, stop, pause, this is wrong, stop, we have to do something else. But it's much harder to do as Catherine Bell will describe now in the upcoming podcast, to follow your purpose based on your heart, based on what you really want to do, what your intuition tells you to do. It's inspiration, it's creativity. This is Victor Dörfler again from the Nobel Prize winners. Inspiration, it's creativity, it's something new, novelty, something that's not in your life yet. How are you going to do that if you don't open up to your intuition? Um, yeah, and on one last thing, this podcast was really not made for AI. And also, I forgot to mention, but I've by now done roughly 50 deep interviews with business owners, leaders, CEOs on intuitive leadership. It's not on my podcast, it's research. And AI has never been in my mind to talk about, but it has always come up in almost every call. And The reason for that is that how I use AI a lot, but at some point you have to make discernment. What is right? What is wrong? What can I really trust in this answer? What is something that resonates with me? And in decoding intuition, that we go through quite some research on what resonance is and how it actually works with our nervous system and how it interacts with our brain and our perception and how that is a gold mine if we use it right, because that's where the discernment is. If this is for us, if it's important, is it for now? If it is it for later? Is it instinct? Is it fantasy? Is it fear? That's the decoding of intuition. And without that structural, in my approach, at least the way I see it, without that structural method, we run the risk to either be too flimsy, too impulsive, or to be too afraid to act on our gut. And there are particular steps we can take. And if we somehow not really take those steps the right way, we end up with not fully trusting ourselves, not fully trusting our gut. Um, and of course, and now I can come to an example of my own. Um, when we when I had to when I have to make decisions, if my gut is with me, if my gut tells me yes, it's a flare up in my stomach, or if I feel I really want to do something, I feel energized. I feel it's creative energy. It's energy that isn't leaving me alone. It keeps coming back. It's almost like this little voice, do this. And I can ignore it, but maybe ask yourself, if you had gut feelings, if you had your intuitive intelligence speaking to you, wanting something from you or warning you for something, how well did it work if you ignored your intuition? How well did that go? For me, unfortunately, if I don't follow my intuition, it's seldomly right. It ends up in something bad. Um, but then, of course, daring to act on your intuition is an entirely different ballgame. There's some dangers there. How you actually say it in the right way, in the right room, to the right people. How do you act on it? Is it all in, or do you go step by step? Keep verifying your intuition along the way. That is a little bit of that's the intuitive muscle that we need to practice. And if I'm making the wrong decision, it's almost like if I'm making the wrong decision, it's almost like I'm getting nauseous. It's almost like there's something in me that's so strong, so strongly warning me this is wrong, that it's impossible to ignore. If I ignore it, it's on my own peril. And if I follow it, it gets lighter. It gives support. There's an energy in it. I'm not gonna deep dive in how the different kinds of intuitions work, but we have body intuition, gut, heart, and intuitive mind, and they work a little bit in different ways. They give different signals. Um, I would like to share with you a story of one of um, previous uh, the previous participants of decoding intuition. Share my screen again. And that is, I start with Angela here on the left. She was one of the first ones jumping on this. She's also, just like Christina on your right, they're both business owners. And Angela, has always been very tuned into the notion that she has intuition. But there was this idea of not fully trusting it, maybe confusing it with either fear or fantasy, and not really being sure, is this my intuition in the first place? And it's actually her words that I use a lot. She said it to me like, going this program gave me the idea not only to know what my intuition is, being in touch with it, but it gave me self-trust. It was almost radical. She said radical self-trust and a transfer of trust from her to others in the decisions she would make, because she was for sure. She knew for sure this is actually the right way forward, and it will still be challenging, but I know I'm going into the right direction. And on the right-hand side, Christina, this is actually very similar, but the difference is that she needed to explain decisions in logical wordings to others. Why she would make a crazy decision, but be able to explain it in a way that is how do you explain intuition? How do you say this is my gut in an environment where that's not always accepted? So she needed words, wordings, framework, a logical framework. Um, yeah. And also, there's one former participant, a man, and he said at the outset he told me like, "Am I crazy? I feel I'm crazy. I follow my intuition, but I don't know if this is if I can follow it. And I have these I believe I have my intuition in my head, but am I crazy? Am I just thinking it, or is it real?" And for him, it became so very clear that his, let's say, weapon of choice was intuitive mind. That is the same intuitive mind that Victor Derfer spoke about with the Nobel Prize winners. An open mind coming up with ideas that were not there earlier, and you can actually have a dialogue with your intuitive mind. It's not the logical mind, it's an intuitive mind. And that's where the ideas come from, and novelties and vision and clarity. I mean, mental clarity, not emotional clarity. And when that fell into place, when he saw that, when he could connect with it, it calmed him down, and then he was no longer crazy. Now he just accepted it and runs with it. Let's see, still on time. I can share with you one more story. That was a session in Copenhagen as a speaker, and I was invited as a speaker in a corporate program for senior leaders to further develop. It was not MBA, but something similar. And uh, actually, they didn't know I was coming. I was invited there. It's part of data management, and so when I showed up as a speaker on intuition, it was a so-called cold room, if you like. It's not like this. You're here because you're interested in it. But that room was cold. These people didn't ask for me to be there. So it's a bit of a uphill battle in the beginning. Then I always start with science, that calms down the logical mind. But then we did some exercises. And there was one man sitting like this all the time, pretty close. But halfway, he started to ask questions, a lot of questions, and not the skeptical ones. He was interested. And at the end of the session, he told me like, when you speak intuition, or when we did the exercises, I had popcorn in my mind all the time, and it's almost like I can't understand. There's something you opened something. Actually, I didn't open anything. He did it himself, but that's how he expressed it. That's the same thing there. He got into touch with intuition, his intuitive mind. And the last thing I'm going to say about this is that there's no science on this, but it's my what I see is men often have a connection with intuitive mind because we men are often so rational. We are already in our head and not in our body, or a connection with gut. It's easier to come for man. It seems to be relatively easy to come from gut because that's a bit of a, yeah, you can say that gut in a meeting sometimes. Whereas women seem to have more connection with the intuitive heart, which is connected to social intuition and reading the room, and body in general, body intuition. There's no science on this. This is me thinking out loud or just seeing giving back what I've seen so far. But it's rare a man talking about intuitive heart. It's not rare for a man to talk about body, but especially intuitive heart seems to be absolutely more the area for women so far. And gut seems to be also very much area for men for some reason. But I might be wrong. I may be proven wrong. That's perfectly fine. We have all of them, all of us humans. Um, yes, those were the main talking points. Normally, I speak as a little bit longer, but I didn't want to speak the whole session. I wanted to speak a little bit less this time and also give you the opportunity, if you want to reflect and maybe ask questions or just share thoughts or whatever you want to do with it. Um, I will end up before I do it with why do we do this? Why actually doing this? Why not sit where you are at your job or wherever you are in life? And I can tell you why I've been running into this for so many years because this is sort of how much do you want to compromise with your life situation? How badly do you want to live a life of purpose? Your purpose, not someone else's purpose, but your purpose. How badly do you want to be your own yourself? That's the way I see it. I make decisions so I can actually own myself as good as it gets, at least. And so for these kind of questions, what is your gut telling you? Where's your vision coming from? How bad do you want it? Is it real? Is it fake? How is it fantasy or is it just fear driven? It brings you down to something in deep inside of you. It's almost identity, your core. And from there you can start thinking, okay, do I want to start my own business? Do I want to reinvent my business, do something different? Doesn't have to be purposeful, or can I just earn money with it and forget about everything else? Is it, do you want to break free from the consultancy trap? Next steps in career, people running their own business. I've had discussions on should I exit or not, or partly. And ultimately, it is about self-awareness and self-knowing. This is ultimately what it is. We're going back down to our real self and live from there. It sounds very soft, but that's where you find peace, but also a point, I call it point of gravity. If you are really landing in yourself, you can handle extreme uncertainties. And I don't mean that uncertainties that we can have a business in a corporate setting. You have a role, you execute it. It may be stressful, but you do it. But extreme uncertainties in the future of your life, it's more difficult to handle that if it's up to you only to make the decisions. And the point of gravity helps. It helps you stay stable. Okay. Thank you for listening so far. I have two ways of going now. Either you can, if you want to, reflect on what I have said, or if you have any questions, or you can, if you want to, share with you yeah, between 1 and 10 how much you trust your gut, or if you have an example of it. In other words, do you have any questions or any comments? Or what do you think of this when you hear this? Because some of you are new to this. And so if you want, you can put it on the chat as well. Aha, oh, that's interesting. Paul is writing in the chat, you know Christina and Angela because they're on the same board of trustees. Aha, nice. Oh, that's probably why we are connected then on LinkedIn. Yes. Hello, Lee.
Hi. Okay, I'm busy saying, can I share something?
Yes, absolutely.
Um,
The floor is open. Yep,
all right, thank you very much. So I have two examples, and I'll try to be very quick through them.
that's fine.
And I think just being in this session helps me sort of articulate what I was feeling when those decisions were made. The first one is about, so I was wondering about trusting one's gut. I don't put a lot of like 100% trust in it. it's somewhere there, mid to
Mhm.
high, but I do follow it so I don't know if that's already a paradox, but that seems to be happening.
Mhm.
And earlier this year, I decided to start an AI Olympiad for youngsters, really connecting to, my purpose. And it really was, if you had to put in pros and cons,
Yeah.
it doesn't look amazing on paper, but I really felt strongly about it and followed through. And I've had really good response. And of course, now the onus is on how do we, build that out. But it was a really good example of following something that almost doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. And
Okay.
how do you, and to your point, it's easier when it's just your decision, because how do you, you don't necessarily have the mandate to, or the ability to convince a bunch of people to follow your gut decision for something like this, something also that's new. So that,
Interesting.
and I'm still very, very happy with that decision. The second was, okay, so I do run nonprofits.
Yeah, sorry, just one second. Did you say an AI Olympiad?
Yes. It's
AI.
yes, it's
Okay.
basically skills development for students, for everybody.
Ah, okay, nice. All right.
A free
Yes.
program. This is not a plug. It's okay. On the other hand, of wanting to live your purpose is also, you've got to make a living. So but that's a different topic. So, okay, well, on that topic, the question came up about going to business with a friend. And as much as we love each other and, could align on our business goals, we were not in alignment in terms of, I guess, uh, I don't know,
E
some of the
energy.
things that you've said actually made sense um, in terms of oh, I had it written down because
That's
things
fine.
that you mentioned as red flags to me
Mm.
were red flags, but I couldn't quite articulate it. And I just felt like we were connecting on one of the goals around maybe, monetization, but not on everything else. And so we had, a month or 2 months of really intense conversations about what it could look like. But in the end, I backed out because I felt that we didn't have that strong alignment, and my gut was saying this is probably not great for the friendship. So I think
Yeah.
what I liked
Mm.
about the session is that you actually helped me articulate what was really going on, even though I might not have known, all of the terminology and why it was happening like that.
Interesting. Thank you, Lee, for sharing that. I can actually reflect on that myself, relate with that. I've been in such a situation as well, where actually it was my idea to start a company with someone else. And then when we were drafting it, I backed out with complete panic. And that was very clear. And when I turned it down, then when when I let it go, my calm came back. So that was very clear body intuition. But very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. You said something about money, for monetization, and it's actually not another discussion. I find it absolutely integrated. The whole point of being free is to be able to follow your intuition, or if you would say follow your heart or trust your gut in a certain direction in life where it is possible to do that and live from it. Otherwise, we're going to keep it's that doesn't mean we should all start our own business. But at some point, the two need to integrate. They need to merge at some point. If you only work against your inner core your whole life, I don't know about you, but if I look around me and I see people that are 60, 70, retired people, seemingly they have it all. I, at least from a material point of view, but I don't look happy. A lot of bitter people walking around, despite financial success. And then, of course, there's also the opposite. In America, I've learned now there's a terminology called woke broke. So being absolutely broke following your heart, that can't be, I mean, how can you serve humanity from that point of view? So it has to be a balance between the two at some point. Just like it has to be a balance between intuitive mind and logical mind. So I'm curious, yeah, to hear more about that, how you're going to do that. And I think, and not I think, without the constant feedback of our inner Wi-Fi, I mean our intuition, it's like Wi-Fi. You can connect with it. Without that constant feedback, at some point we're going to make the wrong turn because yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, all right. I think because of my business background, maybe a little bit limited, or my business experience, or because I sort of and that's where the lack of 100% trusting my gut comes in, and maybe it's fear-based, like you mentioned, but because of those aspects, I tend to wonder if you know I don't know, I'm not really expressing it properly, but we followed this path, we've got all of this going, we see the benefits, but then at some point you've got to step back and bring in the business side, maybe the logical side of it, to plan out your next steps. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of both.
Hmm?
Because I mean, I do see the value of following your gut, to get things going and get things started, and intermittently, and like you said, with feedback and all of that. But at some point, you have to also, find that middle ground with reality and how things ought to be sort of executed on the ground.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if
I
if
agree.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, personally, I agree. And again, thank you for sharing that. And if you feel that you are not expressing yourself as you would want to, if that's, at least that's what you said now, but that is how it is. If you're coming from an intuitive place, it's not done yet. It's not cooked yet. It's still in process. It's a process, basically.
Is there any specific language that is used to determine what that intuition is connected to, body, gut, heart? Or I mean, how
Yeah.
would how would
Hmm.
you tell if, or how would one tell if you're not, very
Hmm.
well educated in the space? Yeah, yeah. How would you tell?
That's a good question. Usually, people would say it by themselves without actually being aware of it. But if I hear a person saying, I see, like I can see in front of me, or I hear, that's like intuitive mind, often. If people use language, people actually say, this is sitting wrong in my stomach. This is not sitting right in my stomach. Then you already know they're literally having something in their gut. Gut, by the way, is not just stomach, it's all the way up to here. So it's the gut, the gut area from guts to here. But anyway, stomach is usually the right word. People will say feel. I know that we have now someone here on our call, and that has a very strong body intuition that will say, I know what my body wants. It's difficult to point somewhere to locate, but the body tells, the body speaks. A very strong body intuition without that you actually know where it comes from. And of course, I mean, if people express very strong words of emotions, affect, not just feel as in vague feel, which can be body, but really, then you know it's probably heart. Can
That's
any
also part of the fantastic training, decoding intuition. You really get to go through all the phases, steps, and knowledge of where you are and what's benefiting you.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. Just that for everybody to know, both Samia and Anna are going through the program Decoding Intuition right now. So thank you for the sharing that. um,
I can share a little bit
yeah, sure.
how I'm thinking. I think I feel that I've always known that I have an intuition, and I think I trust it. And I feel like when things are right and wrong, when I just do the logical choice, which is like I end up, and that is kind of where I'm at in life now, where I just also want to start following it. So I think I've for many years have like felt things, but I have not followed it. So I think that is my next part now, turning 50, that I need to start following the intuition also. No, so I think for me, examples are like, I can feel in my body, like it's, I get pains in muscles, like headache. I can get tinnitus, like sounds. It's like something is telling me that, hey, this is wrong. And an example is like the last job I took now, and I'm leaving it. But it's like the first thing I said to the recruiter contacting me is like, I don't think this is for me. This is not for me. I don't think like 100% remote can work with blah, blah in my life. And then anyway, so, but you should anyway meet the company. And then I got into it. It was like, I needed to perform. I needed to win the case. And then, it was a good compensation. And then I just go with the flow. But the first thing I said loud to myself and even to that recruiter was no. And I ended up there anyway. And it's a lot of examples in my life where I kind of did this. I think, Maurice, you've been with me in one place where that also, like,
Yeah.
it's something that told me I feel, but I don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened to me too. And another one. Yes, it happened to me too. Quite the same. Yeah, that was the wrong decision. Interesting. And those somatic reactions that you mentioned, like pain in body, pain in stomach, headaches, getting tight in everywhere, that is body intuition, like screaming, wrong alley, wrong exit. Yeah. But then, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to change that and just learn how to do that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, then you've come to the right place. I can say that. Okay, Martin is leaving a message. Let me read it. You mentioned earlier that someone had trouble explaining the intuition decisions made because of intuition. What kind of vocabulary is commonly used to talk about this? How can one explain it in understandable words to make others understand without them dismissing it or me sounding vague? Okay. Okay. Martin, I think what you mean is how if I have to make a decision, I want to, well, also share an intuitive knowing, because that's actually my working definition of intuition, inner knowing, a sense of inner knowing. So if I want to, your question was about how can what words can I use if I'm in a meeting and I want to express intuitive insights or hunches, but use words that connect with everybody else in that room. Is that correct? Did I get?
Yes, correct. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my question, because usually it's have a hard time explaining it, but sometimes you just know, but you get dismissed because of the lack of explanation or the lack of kind of support to that intuition.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
And also, like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And you had another question, or?
No, I was just like, how do I talk about it? How can I explain it? How can I make them take it seriously, like without like dismissing it, or because if I don't explain it, or if I don't come up with a background or something, they will probably just whatever.
Is it a fast decision that has to be made right here, right now in the room, or is there a possibility to circle back?
I would say I was thinking about a meeting situation, kind of, or a brainstorming situation, or somewhere where you're like trying to convince other people of, this is
Yeah.
this is what we need to do. Or
Yeah. So I use the words sometimes as this sits wrong in my stomach or this sits right in my stomach. But if there's a possibility to delay, then I can actually use the words I need to sleep on it, but I will probably say something like I need to think of it. I need to reflect on this a little bit, or I need to think it through properly, and then I don't know. I need to ask ChatGPT or something. That works well too. But the vocabulary would be logical words like think, reflect. Have to process this. I have to check with my colleagues or something like that. Basically, buying yourself time because I know that intuition needs time. So intuition is fast, but our understanding of it, our capacity to, is actually called interoception, not introspective, but interoception, which is a real sense we have to look inside, not just look inside, but register inside what's going on. And that takes time. That's the intuitive muscle. It takes time to do that. So I buy myself time. Can I sleep on it? That I use as well. Or refer to other experiences. Like yeah.
So you take it one step back. So you don't try to push it on to people more or less.
No.
You take it
No,
out.
no.
Like, okay, so
Absolutely. Yeah. If I can, I buy myself time I have a specific moment of the day. It's early in the mornings before the day starts. I sit with pen and paper and then I work myself through it. If I know it's too little time today, I'll do it tomorrow morning. So I always buy myself time if I can but I just sit in and check in with yourself if it feels really wrong or if you can negotiate with it. But you should know that um, a couple of times I've been a public speaker on this topic, and then I ask just a speaker, and then I ask people if to stand up if they think they have intuition, and they all stand up, and then I ask them like, do you use your intuition sometimes? And keep standing, and they all keep standing. Then I ask them like if they use it at work. If yes, keep standing. Otherwise, sit down. And I keep standing, and then I ask more and more questions like, do you share your intuition? And if not, sit down. And then people sit down. So it becomes very clear that everybody has it, everybody uses it, but don't talk about it at work. It's a non-topic. But I do understand it. I don't do it myself, but if you would have the guts to just say it, then see what happens. But probably that's not a good idea. It's probably much better to use your logical mind vocabulary.
So yeah. Okay. Yes, thank you.
But it is important to, even if you have to give in, even if you just walk away from, damn, I didn't follow my intuition, or I couldn't really put it through, or so, it is important to walk away and be very clear with yourself what just happened. I know this decision is the wrong decision. I know it for sure, and I wasn't able to convince others, but I know this is the wrong decision. So don't allow public pressure, strong arguments to overrule your inner knowing, even though if you go along with it. That's also a strategy sometimes. Just go with it. Let it. People sometimes need to run into the wall before they understand, oh, it was wrong.
Thank you.
That has happened to me many times. Really many times. But there's a whole I knew it kind of moment in my life. Like, oh, I knew it. Why didn't I do it? Yes, I'm gonna close off properly at 1 o'clock. Is it? Oh, time flies. So people always tell me that I'm not salesy enough. I have a program called the Golden Intuition, education, coaching, and there is a network called Intuitive Business Network. So now I've said it. And I wish you a very nice day. I'm gonna end up at 1 o'clock as promised. I will be here though. I will close off now the recording officially, but I will be here for the ones that want to speak and talk. Thank you for being here, and also very much thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Ciao. Bye.